the Cinnamon, episode 49.
49.
Right here. All things paprika and elements of madness. The Cinnamon are back after a couple of weeks, man. Douglas Davidson Seed. How you doing today, Doug?
Wait, did you just call me Douglas Davidson Seed?
Did
yes, get married.
Davidson Dash Seed.
Did I take your last name?
Douglas
Cedarson?
Daryl Manselson.
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. It's already been a crazy week to start off with, but we're gonna keep this bad boy on rolling. We're gonna talk some movies, man.
You get the craziness out early so that the rest of the week is easy. That's how this works.
I just get the craziness out so the other craziness for the rest of the week doesn't pile up too much. This is what I get. But we're here to talk some movies, man. Hopefully, if your week has been crazy, we can help calm things down a little bit.
You talking about me or the people that are listening?
Yes.
Because this is a highlight for me. This is highlight part of my weekend. My whole Sunday has been like, is it time yet? Is it time yet? Oh, it's time. I feel like somebody's Yorkie. What's up?
What's the time? Meanwhile, me in the middle of working, I was just sitting here and I was like, something's not right. I'm forgetting something. I know I'm forgetting something. I got a challenge I got to watch. It's just one of those like red lights just came above the head. Like there's a nagging flag, like red flag was going on.
Did you get it in?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did. Work was incredibly slow today. So I was just like, you guys can self-sustain. I'll be over here watching this movie. So yes, yeah.
My weekend didn't necessarily go as planned, not in a bad way, but it just didn't go as planned. And I'll talk about it in a minute. But because I had to shift things, watching my challenge got moved. And I don't like doing it the day before, the day of, whatever else. Because to me, it's like too many things can go wrong that if I don't get that window because of the kids and everything else, I'm like, So I like to do it in advance. But I had to trade my day I was scheduled to watch the challenge for a review. And I was like, So I was talking to Crystal and just went, okay, I got to go. I got to start it now. It's this long. She's like, yeah, you better. Have you missed one yet? Have you or Daryl missed one? It's like, no. Nope, got to keep it going.
Yeah, got to keep it going, man. And I was, as soon as I figured out what's up, I was like, oh, I can't do this to Doug, man. We got a flow going. We got to.
I mean, in most cases, you've at least started the movie, even if you haven't finished it.
And I think this came to me at like 10, 11 o'clock, maybe. So I was like, okay, yeah, there's time. I got time.
That's a good way to spend some of your day, though.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk about it. Let's not get ahead. Let's not get ahead
of ourselves. So, speaking of talking about movies, man, what have you seen recently, sir?
Since our last show, I've seen quite a few things. First off, I'm almost done watching my first viewing of My Fair Lady. Professor Higgins is an asshole. Yeah. And there's so much about this movie. I almost want it to be remade today in a more straight, direct remake fashion. We've had so many teen comedies. Hell, we even got Not Another Teen Movie that made fun of this type of thing.
Yep.
But I'd almost want a modern version of it just so that Higgins could get a foot shoved up his ass. Like,
yeah. I remember, I think we watched it like maybe 9th grade, something like that, for like an English class. For some reason we watched it, and I remember just really not liking that dude.
Well, I've never read Pygmalion, written by Bernard Shaw. I think it was 1913. I was doing some pre-research before watching the movie, and so some of the aspects of it from 1913 make sense, in like the 60s, 70s, whenever My Fair Lady was released, because that part I can't remember. But yeah, he's an asshole. So, haven't finished it yet, so maybe he gets redeemed in some way, shape, or form. No idea. But I did watch the 1958 Arrow Video restoration of a movie called Giants and Toys by Yasuzo Mazur. I can't read, and I apologize. Give me a second to take a breath.
Take it slow. Just take it slow. One syllable at a time.
Yasuzo Mazumura.
There we go. Man, that's what this big. That's it. I thought this was gonna be like a 13-syllable last name.
No, I was trying to go too fast. That was on me.
Okay.
That was on me. I was just coming off hot with Higgins and then jumped in here.
Oh, that Higgins messing everything up.
But Giants and Toys, it's a movie that it was released in 1958 as a satire. It was part of a new version of fiction. It's an adaptation of a novel, but where Japan was sort of coming out of World War II and trying to revitalize itself. And this story is a shift in how sort of shuffling off the Bushido, the traditional honor code of the Japanese community, for American ideals. It ain't funny. It's a satire, but it ain't funny. Okay. And when we're dealing with right now with minimum wage issues, where you've got businesses that have literally said we're understaffed because nobody wants to work for us. No, you don't pay enough, and we now see you don't pay enough. We will need the system to change. And this was going on in 1958 in this movie. I don't think it screened outside of Japan, or at least gotten a physical release outside of Japan prior to this Arrow Video release. So do recommend that. I'll have a full review of that coming soon. If I know you saw Wrath of Man.
Isn't it?
But have you seen Riders of Justice?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
Okay.
That's Mads Mikkelsen, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Directed by Anders Thomas Jensen. It hit select theaters on the 14th, and I think is VOD real soon. It's either the 21st or the 28th. It hits VOD. It's The Thinking Man's Wrath of Justice.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of people went to see it's The Thinking Man's Wrath of Man.
Yeah.
People went to Wrath of Man and were like, where's my fast, clippy Guy Ritchie? It ain't that movie. It's not even Jason Statham being funny. He's not Shaw. That was a dirty film. And Riders of Justice deals with some of the similar things with a touch more comedy, but a lot more thoughtfulness. Violence is involved, but it is not the showcase.
Yeah.
And Riders of Justice is one of my favorite films released so far this year. It is easily on my favorite list. Full review available on EOM, 4.5 out of 5 on that one. And then the last film I want to mention, apparently you haven't seen this yet, so I'm not going to get into detail with it, but Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. It's in select theaters now. Hits Netflix on the 21st. I think, what is it, Cinemark? Yeah, Cinemark, I think, has the deal for theatrical screenings, at least in Charlotte. I don't know if that's everywhere, but I'm pretty sure it's everywhere. So look for your local Cinemark if you want to see it on the big screen. If you like Zack Snyder, this is everything you would expect from him.
Yeah.
Just dollars to beginning to end, all him. And he's the DP on this. He's the co-writer. He is the producer. He's the director. And according to an interview with Deborah Snyder, co-producer, and his wife, he was also editing on set while doing it. So he's not Kevin Smith editor. Treatment. Oh yeah, this was very tightly packed in terms of who was on set at every time. Very, very little crew, but his fingers were everywhere. So for better or for worse, this is a Zack Snyder movie. And I will say this, his opening setup for the film is one of the best he's done.
Ooh, I mean, this is the dude who did Watchmen, so that's saying something.
Yeah, with the way that they did the setup, more than one tear was shed by me. I mean, like, it was, I don't feel like they stick the landing, and the stuff that, to me, I have a problem with Snyder is all over this. But I think the fact that he's handling editing, he's handling the cinematography, he's handling all these other things, it's just going to be more of that stuff. So those are the big three to mention. Higgins is an asshole, but he could be redeemed. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, hashtag Higgins is an asshole. I watched a couple of joints, man, when you can find on the old flicks right now. Oxygen, the French sci-fi joint directed by Alejandro Aja, starring Melanie Laurent. If you recognize that name, most of us Western audiences know her as Shoshana from Inglourious Basterds, playing opposite Baron Zemo. It is, man, it is a one-person tour de force. I am thoroughly impressed with everything I saw about this movie. If you're unfamiliar with what it's about a woman who just wakes up. You can call it sci-fi. It's a little bit down the road time-wise. A woman wakes up in an advanced medical cryo unit that is leaking oxygen, and when she is awakened, she starts with 33% in her oxygen. So
That's not a lot. That's not a lot, Daryl.
If my math is correct, she has a third of what she used to have. And she has no idea.
At least 33% of what she used to have.
The Dunes, Precios. She also can't remember who she is and has no idea why she's there. So with it's a different kind of ticking clock. So it's not like I had to figure this out before I reach this destination or before a clock hits zero. It's before her ability to breathe hits zero. So she's got.
She remember that she killed Hitler?
Yes, I think that is part of that. Yes.
Sweet. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. She burned down the cryo unit and then lived a happy life. Supposedly
that was the missing piece. She remembered she killed Hitler.
Everything just fell into place. So yeah, she's got 33% of air to figure out who she is, where she is, and what's going on, and why she does not have administrative privileges to open up her cryo unit. And it's various very well timed, well placed flashbacks, but for the most part 99% of this is just her, and the way it's paced, the way the reveals come, it keeps you interested and engaged, man. It keeps your hands away from your phone. Obviously, we as theater goers are very much. Well, actually, this is a Netflix film, so it's not going to be in theaters like that. This is one that you.
Well, not necessarily. Army of the Dead hit theaters. They've released other stuff. So, is it possible Oxygen would be in theaters? Have you heard anything?
Like Army of the Dead that's like a big name director doing some big name shit. That's gonna go to theaters. But something like Uncorked or the 40-year-old version last year, that's not going to hit theaters. And this is one of those joints that I don't think it's going to hit theaters.
To be fair,
I think
the 40-year-old version premiered at Sundance and then was bought by Netflix.
Oh, well, then there you go.
So, I mean, I totally agree with you. I'm not trying to be like Mr. Semantic Pedantic. It's just the fact that they've started to release more of their films in theaters, and it's great.
And it is good.
You can get there. If you can get there, but this will not be one of them. Instead, I fully believe, while I don't condone talking during a movie, this is one of those ones, man, where I think it's ripe for a responsible group watching, because a part of the fun that me and Leslie had watching that was banding back and forth, or don't forget that, but this and this and this, and that kind of added to the experience of the movie. It was the theorizing that went along with it. 101 minutes, so it's fairly quick, but those reveals keep coming, man, and it's always something, man. It's always a little ground gained, a little ground lost, a little ground gained, a little ground lost, and it makes for a really good movie. Also saw The Killing of Two Lovers, Neon, and as Spoiler alert.
Yes.
I was just watching you process what the hell I was saying.
Okay. Neon. So it's going to be some happy rainbows and shit.
When I do think happy, joy, I do think Neon.
I think Neon.
Usually A24 as well. This will be uplifting.
Yeah, right. Man, Jesus, Neon, give us a comedy every once in a while. At least A24 throws us one of those every 2 years.
That's true.
This stars Clayne Crawford. If that name kind of rings bells, he was in that Lethal Weapon show before he was unceremoniously removed for some behavioral issues. Chris Coy in this as well. Directed by Robert. Let me see if I can get this last name right. McCoyan. He wrote it and directed it and produced it as well, and edited as well. So he was getting his own Zack Snyder business on during The Killing of Two Lovers. It is about a man and his wife. They are on a trial separation, but have agreed to see other people. She took that to heart Well, he did not, and he is having some issues processing this. Doug finds this extremely hilarious for some
No,
reason.
I find it hilarious. You put quotation marks like anyone other than me is going to know this.
I was doing that for you, sir. I wasn't doing that for the audience. That was more for you to know.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I
Quite
just
all
I
right,
couldn't
sir.
help giggling.
Yeah.
Very,
So
very serious.
a dude grappling with the ramifications of his wife, and he's now living maybe a mile away, if no, not even, because you see him actually jog from what is his house to a whole ass uncut take of him jogging, which lasts a handful of minutes, so maybe about a third of a mile, with his dad, and they are all living in the house with his wife and her new boyfriend inside his bedroom. So yeah, kind of coming to terms with that and grappling it is the internal struggle. That's the phrase I'm looking for. That's pretty much what's put on display. We see the entire thing from his point of view, and I gotta say, man, Clayton Crawford brought the business with this movie. Man, he handles the cycle of emotions that goes throughout very, very well, man. There's joy dealing with the kids, there's anger, there's frustration, there's awkwardness when it's just him and his wife are trying to go on like a date night and that doesn't quite work out the way he wants it to work out, and you just we're just waiting for that titular moments of the movie, and then when that confrontation happens, man, it goes down in ways you don't expect it to go down. Yeah, very good movie, The Killing of Two Lovers. I don't even know how this got on my radar, but I'm so glad it did, man. That was a good joint. Reviews for both are up on Paprika Reviews now.
Anything else worth seeing or recommending?
Limbo is in theaters. I'm not sure how much longer it's going to be in theaters, but Limbo is in theaters now. Unfortunately, on the information in front of me, it's about a guy from Syria who is applying for like a refugee status in Britain, but he's in a waypoint in Scotland as he's waiting for the paperwork to come through. And it's just about these little weird, quirky group of people who are all waiting to hear back from the government of whether or not they can get the citizenship, and just the weird environment that they go through. It's a dramedy. Very, very fun, very fine movie. There's some good ass performances in that movie. Limbo, also review up on Paprika. It is in theaters right now at the time of this recording.
Yeah, it's Focus Features, if I remember right. They also just released Profile and are soon, in a couple of months, releasing the Sparks Brothers. So Focus is definitely coming to play. I've heard nothing but great things about Limbo. I got maybe 2 minutes in before I had to give up on it, because watching this 2 minutes took me about 30. So
that's not what you want.
It is not. It is not. I was lucky enough. I don't know if you've seen these, but Film Independent, I'm still getting emails for, here's a free screening plus a Q&A, whatever else. So I watched The Waterman that way last weekend, which is great. And I got super excited to watch Limbo, and I got super excited to watch Profile, and both times the app just would not work.
Ooh.
So I don't know if it's a bad app, if it's my internet or what. So 50-50. But good to know, because I've heard really good things about Limbo, and particularly if you're talking it up, then it's worth seeing.
Yeah, it's one of those I was like, man, let me see if I can't squeeze another review. What's in theaters right now? I got nothing else going on. And I was like, that's interesting. Hop in the car and set it on up to the theater.
Right on. Isn't that nice?
It is.
I mean, I haven't done it yet, but I've heard that it's nice.
It is. It was just nice to be back in that environment. I saw Killing of Two Lovers one theater. No, I saw that here. I saw Limbo in one theater, and I saw something else like the next day at a different theater, and it was nice to be in. Oh, Wrath of Man. So it was just nice to be back in that environment.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I forget what I might make my first theatrical. I need a little distance between some stuff that's happening here for just paranoia safety's sake. Can't talk about on the air, unfortunately, but I don't know if I'm going to try and make it like Fast 9 or something else.
Like, it's got to be a big boy movie, right? It's got to be something that's going to shake you and rattle you to your bones.
I forget what
on an IMAX.
I forget what we were talking about that was like, what if this were it? But anyway, I honestly, for the life of me, can't remember, and that makes the story worthless. Going along with me on this journey of what the fuck is Douglas talking about? So sorry for that.
So we're
Anyway,
talking about getting back to the theaters, man. This
yeah,
is
we are.
summertime, and this is the perfect time. Like before the world kind of fell apart, man. This is the time when you got out to the theaters, and for me, like the topic is summertime blockbusters is what we're
That's what
talking
we're talking
about,
about.
and it is my favorite time of the year for many reasons. I am on record as being avidly miserable during the winter. I hate being cold. I hate the winter. I don't like being cooped up indoors because no one wants to go do anything because that's where all the heat is indoors. I hate the fall because I spend all fall thinking about the winter coming up. So when like that spring hits, man, that April, that March, Aprilish, and like the birds are coming back in chirping, it's starting to get like in the 60s, and that breeze is coming through, and you get a little bit of patio drinking with your friends. You can go see the good movies are starting to roll out. This is the time of year that I thrive the most, and I love me some good summer blockbusters. We just did the summer blockbuster draft for Paprika. That'll be up July 4th weekend, which is a great summer weekend. That's usually a good movie is hanging on that. That was Will Smith's year. You know, that was his time frame for the longest. So Doug, what are your 78 examples of what a summer blockbuster could be?
Well, I think I always like to sort of set the stage for things. For those of you that don't know, blockbusters are commonplace for now. Blockbusters are commonplace for now and are typically films released between May and August, usually have a large number of stars in them or notable cast members, and usually are big on spectacle requiring giant budgets. But the reason why they're called blockbusters is because the literal block gets busted. So many people are trying to get in there. And as is sort of commonly known, but in case you don't know this, Jaws is listed as the very first blockbuster, 1975. So we've only really had blockbusters not even 50 years.
Yeah,
As we talk about them.
as we talk about them, Jaws being the number one, not the number one, but the first blockbuster, did not get drafted in the blockbuster draft until the next to last round.
Having now seen Jaws, I think I watched it last year. I think last summer that was one of my challenges. They just released the 4K, and they released that shit for $10. It came out, they dropped it to $10, and I snagged that shit because I went, it's Jaws in 4K for $10. Sure. And I've never seen it for that price since. It's never been lower than like 15.
Yeah, you snuck in on there, man. You
Jump
snuck
in
in
on
on it.
that.
Fortune favors the bold.
You know, seriously. But because hey, last year, quick off topic. Last year around April, May, Best Buy was doing tons of sales, particularly on Disney stuff in 4K. So you could get the Marvel movies for like $12, not only in 4K but in Steelbook. So you knew you were getting that slightly premium, whether you like the design or not. They've not done that sale since. The prices have been nowhere near that. And every time I'm like, fuck, man.
There is I don't know why, but I just refused to buy Doctor Strange on Blu-ray until it was a certain price point. Like every other MCU movie, I'm like, what day does it come out? I'm there. And when Doctor Strange dropped, and I like Doctor Strange, but every time I was just like, I'll get it when it goes below $20. And it was up in Maryland. I saw it in a random Walmart for $19.99. And I was like, well, I got to stay true to myself. And finally scooped up Doctor Strange.
See, when Doctor Strange came out, that was still in the time when my two brothers and I would split the cost of any movie we all wanted. So I got Doctor Strange in 3D because we still have a 3D disc player and TV. We haven't used it in a couple of years, so it may not work. I don't know. But I got that one for, let's say it was $25, but I only paid like $13. So I've been able to watch it for a while. And then when it went on sale in 4K, I snacked that up. So 3D, 4K, Blu-ray, digital. I got them all.
You got them all.
What you need? What you need?
You are a strange PhD over there.
I
You're the
am.
highest of the doctors.
I try to anyway. But here's the interesting thing is, and certainly with my choices for the blockbusters, the ones that I went for my favorites, they tend to line up with the description, with the rubric of May to August, big stars, big whatever. And when you look at blockbusters like that within that time frame, you're dealing with stuff like Finding Nemo, Up, and Ratatouille. You're dealing with Edge of Tomorrow or Live, Die, Repeat if you're feeling funky. You've got the first two Terminator movies, Star Wars, of course, Armageddon, E.T., Jurassic Park, Superman 2 apparently is considered a blockbuster. The first one is not. Animal House, The World's End, The Fly. You've got all of these movies. But I'd argue that thanks to slightly in part of Marvel and people's shifting options, that the blockbuster isn't confined to just the summer anymore. Because Thor Ragnarok came out in November. Doctor Strange came out in November.
Yeah, I mean, Captain Marvel coming out during Women's Month and Black Panther coming out during Black History Month just makes sense. But I don't think they've redefined blockbuster. I just think that those are clever counter programming to the Oscar movies that are out in theaters. Yeah, they got the blockbuster feel, but I think it is very purposeful of people that are like, well, I don't want to go see Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep directed by Steven Spielberg going for that obvious Oscar grab. I want to go.
I feel like you're naming
fun.
a specific movie. You can just say The Post.
But yeah, it was The Post. And as much as I like The Post, I really dig that movie. But I'm a fan of movies where I'm like, that is fucking good. That should be nominated for Best Picture, or that person acted their ass off. He or she should be nominated for whatever. That's I'm a fan of. Not a movie that is obviously stretching for Oscars. Getting off topic, but yeah,
it's all. I would say that while certainly there's some films that come with a season, and blockbusters fit perfectly in that summer period. You're just going to go have fun. You're going to go on a journey or a fantasy. There's going to be sexy people doing sexy things. They might start off just, robbing trucks to get VCRs. And the next thing they know, they're fighting off submarines and going to space. Did I mention I'm rewatching the Fast and Furious movies? The way in which they have gone from a serious drama to a fuck all action spy comedy is just small increments here and there. Mm-hmm. But Fast 5 is where they go, all right, we're done being serious. Let's go make money and have fun.
Yeah, and I was trying to think the other day, like, you don't see too many franchises where, like, if your first movie sets your tone for what genre this is going to be in, and the rest follow that. Mm-hmm. They even might go wildly varying directions, but it's still usually contained to the same genre. Fast and Furious is like, nope, we're just going to just say, fuck it. We're going to go straight from drama to action adventure and have a fun ass time. And maybe sci-fi? Who knows?
No, they did that with Hobbs and Shaw. They did that with Hobbs and Shaw. It's Black in Superman, universe now.
Black Superman. So yeah, that's as much as I'm not a fan of that franchise, because those movies just don't do it for me, but I respect the shit out of people just going and having fun and the technical acumen that is put into making these crazy stuntacular movies.
The ones that I revisit the most are 5, 6, and occasionally 7, just because the whole Jason Statham thing is fun. To me, the end of 7 is sort of where they lose me. It's like, all right, we're going way past the realm of, I mean, frankly, the fact that whatever world in which someone built like Vin Diesel beats someone in a fight built like The Rock, no, that's from like, no, this is fiction now. Now we're in fantasy land. No. But anyway, Dom's got to win. So, anywho, I'm not a huge fan of the movies, but watching them in succession has been great. And we're doing them in a rewatch in narrative chronological order. So if I can finish My Fair Lady quickly enough tonight, we may be doing Tokyo Drift.
Right on.
Pour one out for Han. Justice for Han.
Well, you'll see him again here in a little bit, though. So you'll be all right.
Can't wait.
Solo. So do you want to jump into these bad boys?
Yeah. So, I mean, because I think it's so this is why you pick this topic. as we jump into our particular ones, you did this because we're coming into summer.
I mean, this
you,
is
you are ready to strip down, bare all, and go lay on your lawn. It's that time of year. Okay, he's nodding his head, folks. So
Yeah, you
buy
have
your
not said
tickets now.
anything wrong yet.
And so even though, I mean, you wouldn't consider The Green Knight a blockbuster, but you've been hungry for that one, and they're releasing in the summer. But that's very much a prestige sort of picture.
Hungry like the wolf for that movie.
So where is the line for you between, because you do enjoy some artistic pictures. There's nothing wrong with that either.
I do believe I do.
So why is it that summer, is it just the time of year that you're like, I can't wait to go outside and get into a cold theater? Like, is it just you enjoy the transition between your living room and the theater more?
It's just everything working in combination with everything else, man. It's just the good weather, the good vibes, man. Just like I said, get the patio drinks with the peoples, or coming out of that big blockbuster and going against the drinks peoples and be like, this is so cool, and this is so cool, and this is so cool about it, which you don't really get to do during like prestige season. You can come out and be like, yes, but the cinematography was to die for. And that's you did like this explosion. What was your favorite scene into this guy's line? And then he came back. Oh, we thought that guy was dead. Like, that's the shit you get to see. That's like, movies were made for two reasons, I think. To tell a story. Well, movies were made for money. Movies deliver two vehicles. I think some want to just tell a good story, no matter what that genre is, what it is, and just to have fucking fun. And the ones that go for those big blockbuster fun joints, when they connect, they connect big. And even sometimes when they miss, they're like, but at least the stunts were dope. And at least this was, you can still find something great in that. And that's part of the appeal for summer for me.
Yeah, I get that. Although I would now caution you, if you decide, you personally or anybody listening, you go read my Army of the Dead review. I do comment on the cinematography.
I mean, you're a film critic. That's kind of what you do when you talk about it.
But I will also admit that it is for the most part, where it works. And I agree with you. When it comes to a summer blockbuster, we tend to, as a general audience, we tend to give them more freedom because they're just about doing something crazy, getting outside of the norm. So what is your first one, since this was your topic? What is your first, let's just get nuts?
My first, let's just get nuts, man. Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl.
Ooh.
Yes.
What an unexpected movie that is.
And like I said, maybe it's just because I'm already in that mood because I've been watching a lot of stuff for the Blockbuster draft that we just recorded at the time of this recording. And we talked about it there, and I had it on my list of things to talk about there. I'm pretty sure I've said this here on Cine, and I've said it a couple of places. Hollywood has lost that art of making a swashbuckling film. You don't really get that these days. And I think the last great swashbuckling film is that first Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Regardless of what Depp and Sparrow become later on in that series, man, what the character is in that first movie is perfect as a character. A great introduction to a character coming on a sinking boat right onto the pier. Just a great
looking all regal and shit as he does.
It's just head back straight, chin up, head high. A great design for that character. And everybody plays off of everybody else well in that movie. I was thinking about this, man, and there's some strong similarities between your big three of Pirates and your big three of Star Wars, I think, because you have that fresh face Will Turner, Luke Skywalker. You have that roguish Han Solo, Johnny Depp, and you have that damsel in distress, but yet still holds their own in both Leia and Miss Swan. And I think that's part of the reason why that works so well for me is you can draw very clear lines between each of those three characters. If you put up Johnny Depp or you put Jack Sparrow against Will Turner, they use both to show cracks in the personalities of the other. Like, you think Will Turner's a very regal by the books. This is my place in life, such and such. But As soon as some shit happens, he goes straight to the dude to do some illegal shit and spring him out of jail. And you're like, maybe he's not as as law abiding as he says he is. And then you hold up Will Turner to Jack Sparrow, and you see, yeah, he's roguish, but at the end of the day, he's still probably gonna do the right thing. And it's just fun on top of all that. The score is rousing as all hell. You get sword fights, you get naval battles and shit like that going on. It's just a fun movie. It was a risky gamble. We hadn't done anything since Cutthroat Island bankrupted a studio, and the gamble paid off big.
It did. It did. That's God. That movie. I watched it within the last couple of months. It is still so good.
I watched it
and probably because you mentioned it.
Yeah, because I watched it like 2-3 months ago.
Yeah. So you did that. We probably talked about it. I was like, shit. It's on Disney Plus. We're up with a baby. Let's watch Black Pearl.
I think that's what it was.
The best out of all of them.
Yeah, I was just scrolling through Disney Plus. I was like, man, I pay for this, and I only watch the Marvel movie or Marvel shows. I need to get something out of this. And let me just scroll through, and I was like, well, I can just click play, and it's better than digging through all my DVDs. So play.
Yeah, I think it was just late, and I didn't want to go get our DVD because we now have a DVD player in the bedroom. But yeah, we've used Disney Plus for I've mostly been the one using it. I watched the second National Treasure. I watched the second and third Mighty Ducks movie. Started watching The Rocketeer. Haven't gone back to it. I don't know why.
First purchase, or the first purchase, but the very first thing I took the day off when Disney Plus dropped.
I remember.
And I just laid on the couch and I was like, I can finally watch The Rocketeer for the first time.
I didn't really like it the first time I saw it, and I've never revisited it.
I started it and
I just went,
I see why they got Joe Johnston to do the first Avenger after watching The Rocketeer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally get that completely. Yeah.
What's your first choice there, sir?
My first choice, and I pulled this one because I have a strong emotional connection to it. In fact, my first two that I'm going to mention are all about the resonance of how it stuck with me. And in this case, it's not the film itself, though I think it is badass and quite possibly the best of the series that it ended up spawning, but it's the theme that we got. I think it was Danny Elfman who did the remix. It's 1996's Brian De Palma, Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
That film hit theaters, and first of all, I love the fact that they decided to murder the whole team straight off, except for a few people.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the best things because first of all, it really does set the stage when you hire faces and you murder them all. It really does help illustrate nobody is safe. Now, of course, you're not going to kill off Tom Cruise because it's Mission Impossible. You need Ethan Hunt. Okay, fine. You can get rid of John Phelps.
But at the time, we didn't need that. We didn't know that this was going to be a thing. So he still had a little bit of, he's also the face of the movie. So.
That's true. Yeah. But again, it's also Tom Cruise, so it's not going to happen. But
at least not until the end of the movie.
And even then,
a couple of deaths. He's got a couple of deaths.
But the soundtrack, the song, the remix of it, that one, and a couple other songs by Shaggy accompanied me when I went for a week or two with one of my best friends as a kid, Glenn Mackey. He took me to one of their family's friends' house in the Outer Banks where there were no other houses or anything else. It was nighttime and it was just dark. There was just sunlight, moonlight, and whatever reflected off the nearby ocean. And so I just have these wonderful memories of just listening to my tape deck and just hanging out and that song. Now, of course, this is also an amazing film that the last Mission Impossible references, and I can't wait to have Kittredge back in the upcoming Mission Impossible movie. And I am so hoping, I think her character's name was the White Widow, played by Vanessa Kirby, that gets introduced. She's the granddaughter. She's either the daughter or the granddaughter of Max, who Vanessa is introduced. Redgrave. Yeah. And I'm like, I rewatched Fallout within the last couple of weeks, and the way that she talks to Ethan, I keep being like, You fucking know who he is. You better know who he is. He's the reason your mom got caught.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because there's a line where she's like, well, you don't look like a John Doe. And that was the name Phelps was using to communicate with Max that Ethan took.
Yeah. There's once again, I've said it many a times. I don't understand why, but a Mission Impossible movie is coming up, and I'm like, here we go. Sit down, let me rewatch the other ones, and then hits theaters, and I'm like, I'm gonna get to it one of these days. And it leaves theaters. I have not seen a Mission Impossible in theaters since 3, and I have all intents and purposes every time. It's like, fuck, it's gone. I guess I'll have to catch it on video. And I catch it on video, and I'm like, fuck, why didn't I see this in theaters? So I have made it a point to be there day one when this movie comes out.
Then do me a favor, when it does, drink coffee or some sort of, hyped up beverage for you so you don't fall asleep. Because I could see you being like, I'm here.
Yeah, it can't be immediately after work because my body shuts down. It's gonna have to be like, you know what? I'm off on Fridays theoretically, so maybe that's when I'll go check it out, man.
There we go. So that's my first one. What you got next?
My second one, man. I'm pretty sure I talked about it on the show before. I've told the story many times in Pop Riga. The only movie I've seen 3 times in one day in 2 different states. 2009 Star Trek. This came up in the Blockbuster draft. We all mostly drafted movies that are about fun. Who could draft the most fun list of movies? And you have to have the 09 Star Trek. Unless you're just a super hardcore Trekkie, which a lot of them did not like it because it tend to lean more of that action adventure and less the philosophical, which is kind of what Star Trek tends to be, or what they're known for most of the time. But you want to bring in a fresh new audience. You make some shit fun, you'll get yourself a fresh new audience. And me, as a Star Trek fan, I was already interested in seeing like what else can you do outside of the 10 movies they'd already done and the 5 or 6 series. Like, give me something new. And they sure as shit did give me something new. And that new was fun. And it's bright and shiny and it looks great. The music's great. The action is rousing, man. It's when you think all hope is lost and the Enterprise comes in at the very end to protect and block Spock's little ship, and you're like, gosh, that's what you want out of a movie. It's that joint, man. It is fucking fun. It's a thrill ride from beginning to end. Those actors did their own thing while also paying homage to the actors that played those characters before, or paying homage to the characters themselves. JJ, people complain about JJ, but when he connects, man, the Bad Robot's got way more hits than misses, I think. And he knows how to make a fun product, and he made a fun product on that 2009 Star Trek.
I will admit that his first film of a trilogy is usually far better than any other part in that trilogy.
Correct.
Because Star Trek 2009, absolutely fantastic. Force Awakens, so much fun. It really is. There are other projects JJ has done. Mission Impossible 3 is
that's what got me back into the franchise.
What's that?
That's what got me back into it. Because after 2, I was like, fuck this. I'm not watching these anymore. But at 3, I was like, because that's all years later. I was like, oh, okay, who's this Abrams kid? This is kind of good.
Yeah, it's very, very different. And that's one thing I've liked about the Mission Impossible films. Most often, because they've gone with a new director almost every time, that's now changed under McQuarrie. But because they've gotten a different director each time, each film feels different.
Mm-hmm.
So like 2 was John Woo, and that one's probably my least favorite of the series, with number 3 coming up next above John Woo just a little bit. But that, I think, is, you've got some amazing performances in that one, and they've also taken the story and done some interesting things with it. But that Star Trek, just to go back to yours, it's so good and so much fun. And because of the clever way that they do things by making it pseudo time travel and having these timelines, you can now appreciate them and either go, here's my classic Trek and nothing comes after it. Okay, fine. Or you can go, hey, here are these new stories and these are the only ones I'm going to watch. So it does allow for separation without having to worry.
Yeah, they literally had their cake and managed to eat it before anyone stole it because they altered the timeline and did so in a way that they didn't destroy everything that came before it. So, like you said, there can be, if you like, a clear delineation between all this and then 2009 and everything that came after that. Um, so yeah, it's a good way to circumvent without completely disrespecting everyone that came before you in the storytelling universe.
Question. Do you think we will ever actually get a Tarantino Star Trek, and or do you think we'll get an R-rated one, and or do you think we need one?
No, 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 no. We will not get that Tarantino movie. I fully believe he probably has an idea, and Tarantino's a great storyteller. It's probably a great Star Trek joint. We will not get an R-rated Star Trek because we don't need an R-rated Star Trek. I would love an R-rated Star Trek, just out of sheer curiosity to see what they do to make it R-rated.
There's going to be some green lady made of feet.
Some green lady made of feet and some red shirt that yells at an F-bomb before he dies.
No, 3 F-bombs. You can get away with 1 in PG-13.
But I think if you put a mother in front of it, that's what gives it an R.
Actually, I think if you hire Samuel L. Jackson, it's automatically an R.
Automatically an R-rated
him
movie.
Out of that, you'll be fine.
But yeah, we don't. I think we will get it. I think actually Paramount's like we are actively in development for another one, so we will get another one the next probably like 3 years. It's not going to be rated R, I don't think, because Star Trek is universal appeal. The moment you put that R on it, you have narrowed your audience. And that Tarantino is just going to fall by the wayside. He'll be getting to work on his 10th film, and then that'll be that.
Right on. Well,
your second film.
My second one is nowhere near as neat or clever as yours, but again, going with the whole resonance idea. This is the first film I ever saw in a theater by myself. I've talked about it on the show before, and it is a film that to this day I still think is honestly a wonderful piece of cinema. Does it have problems? Sure, every film has problems, but Tim Burton's Batman 1989 is fantastic. It is certainly a reimagining of Batman because he does use guns and other things that the comic book Batman does in fact not do. But without this Batman, I don't know if we ever would have gotten Batman the Animated Series.
I agree with that. Yeah, keep talking, keep doing your thing.
One thing I will say, if you've never checked them out in 4K, I do recommend it. There are some amazing color shifts.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that.
Unfortunately, because it's 4K and it wasn't shot intended for that, when you see Jack Nicholson as the Joker, you can kind of be like, oh, there's the application lines.
Yeah.
Oh, he's clearly... it sort of ruins that aspect of it. But the visual elements are very well... They just pop more. And does it sound better? I think it depends on your sound system. I don't think they were released with Atmos, so I don't think that's even an issue, but it's honestly, it still holds up. And Jack Nicholson, Michael Keaton, to me, is one of the best live action Batman we've ever gotten. He's in the Tim Burton stories, was represented as Bruce very well, represented as Batman well, and you got to see him be a detective, not just do the action stuff. And Jack Nicholson is phenomenal as the Joker, capitalizing on that chaotic energy and that sort of unpredictability in a strangely sexy but very, very dangerous kind of way.
Yeah.
Like Jack Nicholson just has this air about him where it doesn't matter what outfit he's wearing. It's like, oh, I get why Harley Quinn hooks up with him. Like, okay, I get this.
Yeah.
That's mine.
It is a very good call. It was drafted in the Blockbuster draft because it's fucking Batman. It goes a long way. I was on a panel talking about comics not too long ago, and comics shift into the mainstream. And it was me and someone else versus 2 other panelists in this mode of thinking that Batman in particular goes a long way into re-legitimizing what Batman does or who Batman is. I think the Adam West Batman goes a long way into destroying what Batman is with the goof and the campiness, and that's not what that character is, I don't think. And between Frank Miller's The Dark Knight and 4 years later Tim Burton's '89 Batman, those laid the groundwork for bringing Batman back to being that dude who has serious issues and he needs to get his shit checked out. A shift back to what I think Batman should be, and that movie is very influential towards that. And shout out to Bob, Joker's henchman.
His number one.
Yeah, until he kills him, if I remember correctly.
I believe you are correct. So what is your number one favorite?
My number one favorite is a large cheat of a blockbuster.
Speaking of Joker,
it is the MCU in
all of it?
general. Not all of it, but
we just discussed some of them were released in November and February.
But they've gained enough credibility and legitimacy and respect since 2012's The Avengers that they are fairly fucking good at locking down that first weekend in May that kicks it off. Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Thor, Avengers, Iron Man 3, Age of Ultron, Civil War, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and it was supposed to be Black Widow, were all your summer blockbuster kickoffs, man. So that for a while there was that string where it was like, the MC movie drops, you know it's summertime. Let's get to some summertime shit. And that's what you just kind of waited through the January and February movies. And there's going to be like something in March that drops that's kind of cute that'll hold you over. But man, when April hits, you're like, fuck these 4 weeks. Let's get to this MCU shit that's going to kick off in May. And I think like for me, the MCU has redefined the summer blockbuster. I think there's a shift like Jaws, Star Wars back in those days. I don't really think of the 80s had great movies, but I don't think of a whole lot of great like summer blockbusters in the 80s. Batman and a few others. But then 90s, you get that run of Will Smith joints. And that's like the second era of blockbusters. And now I think that third era of blockbusters are the MCU movies. And
so we're just gonna get rid of Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, Back to the Future, Aaron Hood. We're just gonna ignore those in the 80s. 80, you heard it here first, guys. Daryl says Indiana Jones movies bad.
Daryl said no such thing. But it just feels like there is eras there, and for some reason, like the 80s just don't stick out. Like obviously, everyone who knows me knows I love Raiders.
You don't have to be defensive. I was just kidding.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like you said it, I'm just thinking about it more. Like I don't know why, but the 80s just don't stick out to me as like era big blockbusters. Like for me, like I said, Jaws, Star Wars, Close Encounters, I think was in that blockbuster time frame as well. Yeah. Now it is firmly held to the point where what?
Oh, no, go ahead.
It firmly held to the point where many people complain about it online that they are sick and tired of this. But the MCU has the summer on lock.
And not that you need defending, but in defense of your thought, once you get to the 90s, yeah, the idea of the summer blockbuster sort of explodes.
And that was brought up on the podcast on the draft.
Yeah, you get even more of them. So
it just might be the volume increased
almost exponentially to
you
the point where
you get True Lies, you get all that good shit in there.
No joke. I heard about this movie, The Protege, that I think Lionsgate's releasing, and it's got Samuel L. Jackson, Maggie Q, and I forget who else is in it. But I saw this trailer and the cast, and I went, "It's coming out in August." But the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard is coming out in August. Why are they doing these back to back? No, that's coming out in I think June. And you've got that, you got Protege, Free Guy, Black Widow. Like most of the summer releases are going to be these huge things. And while The Green Knight doesn't classify as a summer blockbuster, the returns on that might change. because the amount
Turns
of
on
money it
that.
makes might shift how we
Yeah.
talk about it. But it's got the huge cast and it's being released in summer, so it could be. But
I don't think it
man, we are
classifies as
inundated.
summer blockbuster because I think one of those main components, besides like that time frame and that box office return, is fun. And while I don't think the Green Knight is going to be like, we're going to come out and be like, oh, there was that one thing. It's going to be just a great ethereal, like, man, you're just immersed into it, but not like shoving popcorn in my face and drinking my soda the whole time. I don't think it's going to be like fun. It's just going to be good.
Mister, I'm going to see this 92 times in the theaters.
92
You're going to be coming out talking
times.
about every single moment of that movie.
No, I won't, because I'll be busy going back in and watching it again. I won't have time to talk about it, sir.
But as we are almost done, you re-brought up, an important point about fun at the movies. And you got a summer blockbuster. By definition, when we go buy it, time of year, budget, cast, what have you, but there's also that X factor, that tone. My number one favorite summer blockbuster
Iron
for
Giant.
this discussion. Huh?
I said Iron Giant.
Nope.
Okay.
93, John McTiernan, way ahead of its time. Arnold Schwarzenegger led Last Action Hero, sir. That movie is amazing. I loved it in 93. I still rock out to that soundtrack. It's probably the only CD I own that has Tesla on it. But although I think Tesla may have done a song for Bill and Ted Face the Music, so I may be wrong on that. But this film, have you ever seen this?
Oh, yeah.
Based on your face, I'm like, either he's never seen it or he thinks I'm smoking something.
I think you're smoking something, man.
I'm sober, sir.
I walked out and I was
I'm
like,
high on life.
Well, that was a movie, I guess, as my 11-year-old self said when I walked out.
You need to rewatch that shit. And I mean that sincerely, because at 11, I don't think you're going to find death coming out of Seven Seal walking around and trying to kill people very funny. But when you watch it as a cinephile and you see the different movies that Schwarzenegger's popping in and out of, there are different references that they're making. There was shit that when I was 13, 14 and saw this movie that I thought it was hilarious, because Demolition Man had the Schwarzenegger library and Last Action Hero has Stallone in T2.
Mm-hmm.
And every person that works at Blockbuster is gorgeous, and everybody's phone number begins with 555. They are making so many goddamn jokes at their own expense. It's glorious. If I remember right, what's her name? Brigitte Nielsen? This was her first film before she did Mortal Kombat.
Wait, wouldn't she write Sonya?
No. Sorry. You're correct. Brigitte Nielsen was Red Sonja. Who am I thinking of? What's her name? It's driving me nuts. Hold on a second. I'm looking at a list, and Brigitte Wilson.
Okay.
This was her first film before Mortal Kombat, before she did Billy Madison.
She was Sonya Blade, right?
What was that?
She was Sonya Blade, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she was. So, yeah, you got it was like Sonya with a blade, but not Red Sonja. That's where I messed it up. But it's got a fantastic cast. It is super funny. It pokes fun at itself. It's even got Schwarzenegger punching himself in the face, if I remember right, because he thinks he's a stuntman or something. It's like, you ruined my life, and then he runs off to try and save the day. It particularly as an older cinephile works a lot better than as a 13-year-old kid. And we also have a lot of deconstruction of superheroes going on today. That's what Last Action Hero did. And people weren't ready for it. Okay. I think people are ready for it now. So if you haven't seen it since you were a little kid, or you've never seen Last Action Hero before at all, highly recommend checking it out. Coincidentally, with this topic, Last Action Hero is getting a 4K release for the first time, dropping on the 18th of May. It's sold out at Best Buy, so I'm going to have to find it somewhere.
All right. Well, good luck with that hunt, sir. Good luck with that hunt. Tears on Doug's face.
Well, I waited.
A single tear rolls down my cheek.
I have several tears.
Okay.
Several that are falling. Because you said, you wait and you seek the opportunity. Yeah, I didn't seek mine. So,
Lessons were learned.
I'll probably make the same mistake later. So, as we go to wrap this up, we had some challenges that sort of fit into the realm. I didn't check when these films were released, but do fit into the spectacle and big stars category for our challenges. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. You gave me The Night Comes for Us,
Yes, I did.
which is an action joint directed by Timo Tahanto. I probably got that wrong.
We do our best.
We do our best. It's an Indonesian film, man. Stars Joe Taslim, aka our new Sub-Zero in the Mortal Kombat joints, aka the Indonesian Colin Farrell, as I now think of him in my head.
Really?
Yeah. He does a lot of good eyebrow work, man. I was just like, half the
He's
time
also very versatile.
Movie. Yeah.
Have you seen him in Warrior?
Yes, I have.
I haven't finished the first season, but he just beat the shit out of
everyone.
Asham. Well, yeah, everybody. But like, and then you remember he was in the raid, and you go, wait, he was the scared, weaker of the group. What?
Yeah, the Joe T, man, he's coming up hard in the game these days, and I am all for it. Iko Uwais, the main build person in the raid, if I remember correctly,
yes,
playing the supporting role here. If you are unfamiliar with The Night Comes for Us, it is on Netflix if you want to check it out right now. It's about that it's very tropey, but uses the tropes in so many great ways. That roguish dude who has a change of heart and all the problems that come with that change of heart. When they sometimes it's like the I'm getting out the game guy, or it's my last score guy, and then all the shit that follows after that, kind of like that. Or in the case of characters like Han Solo who have that face turn at the end of the movie, here you get that face turn at the very beginning of the movie and all the heaps of problems that come with that face turn. He is trying to protect a little girl who the triads are seeking to try to kill. Is basically as simple as you can put it. And all the players that come with some of his old crew helping him out, some of
so hard.
We said
it's so hard to kill him. So hard.
Some of his old crew helping him out. Some of his old crew are now against him. It's great to watch, and there's some nice little small character moments all throughout the action. Well, action, you know, these guys associated with the raid, you know, it's top notch, man. I don't know where Indonesia came from with the action, but over the last couple of years, man, they've been seeking the title for Action Kings hard, and they've been doing it upright.
Yeah, when it comes to Asian cinema, they're slowly becoming my go-to in terms of if I've heard it's from there, I go, oh, this is going to be amazing. It's going to be violent as fuck, but it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, and it stretches that believability of like all the injuries sustained. This cat should have been dead like 15 minutes into the movie probably. But you don't care because you're having a great time watching this.
I was like, how many times should The Rock have died in all of his movies?
Millions. This is just a good, it's paced weird, but not paced bad, because I wasn't paying attention to time while I was watching it. But a scene is happening and you're like, oh, here we go. This is the third act climax. And I looked and I'm like, I'm 59 minutes into this movie. I'm not even halfway through. This is not the third act climax.
But it got messy.
But it got real messy, man. I'm very happy with the fact that they have announced we were getting 2 sequels based off of this.
Wait, really?
The young woman who helps him out, the operator, she is getting her own movie.
See, I've only heard that it was rumored. I didn't know that it was confirmed.
Yeah, I heard that it is according to Wiki, that it is in early developments right now.
Okay.
If that's the case, I am the happiest man because I love that character. We also had a woman with a zipline garrote, and you don't see that often. And I thought they used it majestically here. And when you have There's one thing I'm willing to spoil in this movie. When you have a bad guy with a weapon that cool, it is the laws of movie making that bad guy, you live by the sword, you die by the sword, has to be killed by their own weapon. There's rules to this shit, and they follow those rules, thankfully. Yeah, fun. Just absolute fun. I was just like, ooh, ooh, oh, so many bones, snapped, broken, stabbed, shot. It's great.
It's the movie that and when you go to see one movie, inevitably there's going to be comparisons made to something in the same genre or in the same franchise, if it's a remake, whatever. As a critic, you ideally want to treat it as a separate entity,
Judge it on its own merit.
but when but it also depends on the type of adaptation. If it's a direct remake of something just in a different medium, then you're going to do a direct comparison. But when Mortal Kombat came out and Joe Taslim is in it and people were going nuts over the fight scene between Sub-Zero and Scorpion, just about everybody I know went, okay, if you liked that sequence and you want to see some real martial arts in cinema, The Night Comes for Us. Go watch The Night Comes for Us. You will get exactly what you wanted for Mortal Kombat.
You'll get it much better. Much better.
Yeah. And I mean, the fight sequences are what they are in Mortal Kombat. So I thought some of them were kind of fun, but they were also harmless, which is really weird for a movie from the Mortal Kombat series.
Out fighting? Yes.
Yeah. And whereas watching, particularly a game inspired by the fucking Kumite. So
right.
With The Night Comes for Us, you get exactly what you pay for, and it shows up in spades.
Yes, and speaking of the Raid Man, my Best Buy has, or I should say had, because now I have a Raid 2 pack, man, for like $16 on Blu-ray. So if you have not seen the Raid or Raid 2, Raid Redemption, do yourself all the favors. And like I said on Twitter, man, you want a nice little double feature. You watch Dread and you watch Raid, and you will have yourself a nice summer blockbuster double feature on your hands. Sir, you had, sticking in that world of Far East film, you had Hard Boiled by my boy Johnny Woo.
1992, John Woo reportedly was so tired of doing, not so tired, but had done so many gangster movies that he wanted to do something from the perspective of the cops. And so he did it where his main lead cop is a bastard who keeps breaking the rules, and another one is an undercover cop who keeps murdering people so that he can get his way up the triad. So basically, he wanted good guy, bad guys.
Pretty much.
Apparently, I rented this disc. I got it from Netflix through their disc service. And I had apparently, according to them, last rented in 2013, have no memory of watching this film. Probably rented it, as Crystal also pointed out herself, because in 2007, they released the video game Stranglehold, which is considered the sequel to Hard Boiled. I played that video game and went, shit, I need to watch this movie so I get all these references. I have apparently seen several American John Woo films, have not seen any of his native films. So this was my first toe dip into the John Woo Asian cinema.
Yeah,
now,
buddy.
I wasn't expecting it to be what it was. I didn't realize it was a thriller.
Yeah.
I thought it was sort of an action cop comedy from the stuff that I've heard about Tequila. And maybe that's just, I'm sure you've seen that gif of Chow Yun-Fat chewing on something, thumbs up. I thought that was from this movie. I'm wrong. I knew about the scene in the hospital.
Oh, that's one.
Well, hold on. And I kept thinking, I'm watching this and going, this is not at all what I thought it would be. This is some dark stuff.
Are you mixing up I'm trying to think of where he does that thumbs up now. I know I've seen. All right,
I haven't had the time or opportunity to check since I watched it.
But that hospital sequence, man.
But you talk about, we're getting in that third act fight. They got to the hospital. It's like, okay, I've heard about this. We must be, what the fuck? Like most of the second act in this 2-hour, 8-minute movie takes place there. Yep. I wasn't prepared for that. And as a once again new father, seeing the scene with all the babies, I was like, no, let the babies be okay. But also don't put cotton in their ears. It's bad for their ears.
Hey, listen, man, it's bad for their ears or it's bad for their ears.
No.
What are you gonna do?
I wasn't like, you're bad, whatever. I was like, no, that makes sense in the scene. I also, of course, was laughing at the one kid that Tequila's trying to protect just so happens to piss on him when he gets caught on fire. Thanks, piss pot. Like, yes. But it's an entertaining film, and it's in a lot of ways completely unexpected. Because of Stranglehold, I knew Tequila was going to survive no matter what. But there was a lot of surprises in there, and I've only seen I don't know if it's his actual name or just the Western version, but Tony Leung,
Yeah.
who plays the undercover agent, is also the male lead in In the Mood for Love.
And he is the Mandarin.
Yes, he is. So I'm looking forward to that.
He's also in Hero.
Yeah. And there's a number of films that either he's been in that I've either wanted to see or have seen and just didn't recognize him. So I'm actually planning to go back and watch Hero at some point, because not only is he in Hero, but so is Maggie Cheung, who was his co-star in The Mood for Love. And I just
and Jet Li and Donnie Yen. Look, man, Hero's don't get me started.
Hero's amazing.
Yeah.
But there's so many actors now that are in that film that I didn't know who they were at the time. And I just watched Irma Vep, which is a Maggie Cheung film.
Yep.
Just came available on Criterion. And it's a really interesting movie. It's not necessarily for me, but a very interesting movie. But it's kind of made me go, I need to rewatch Hero. So thank you for putting Hardboiled in front of me, for now really confirming I need to rewatch Hero.
I just got Hero in Blu-ray for the first time forever. I've been wanting this movie in Blu-ray forever, and every time I go to Amazon, they're like, not in stock, sorry. Or the only time that it's been in stock, my pockets are like, not this week, sorry. So I just happened to look, because I was like, man, God damn it, it's going to be one of these days. And there was like 2 copies available for like $9.99 or something like that.
You get that shit.
And I got that shit, and it came in the mail the other day, and boy, oh boy, I can't wait. If you're looking for a companion piece to that movie, a couple years prior to Hardboiled is a movie called The Killer, which is a Chow Yun-Fat joint with John Woo, and it is much in that same style and same vein. Chow Yun-Fat is a gangster, but it's one of those gangster turn face type joints, and I think it's Hardboiled's 92, The Killer's 89. Samuel L. Jackson talks about The Killer in Jackie Brown. It is also like a staple of so many lines from The Killer were lifted off of a particular Wu-Tang album. It is also very beloved. So that's a good double feature, To Kill and Hardboiled, to the point now where I double feature them so much I forget what scenes are actually in what movie.
And if I remember right, I don't think it's a direct sequel, but isn't The Replacement Killers a sort of spiritual sequel to The Killer?
You know what?
Maybe it's just because it's got Chow Yun-Fat in the lead.
I actually never saw Replacement Killers. We were talking about it at the bar. A couple of, summertime out there, day drinking at the bar. We were talking about it at the bar last week, The Replacement Killers, and the fact that I've never watched that movie.
It is not bad. I love the opening sequence.
All right.
I absolutely love the opening sequence.
So yeah, that's it, man. That's thank you for that. Good, the night comes for us. There's sometimes I get a Doug Davison challenge, and I'm like, I must have pissed him off for some reason. And then there's times I'm like, man, Doug's let me eat good today, and this is definitely an eat good day.
I feel a little bad because I haven't recommended you a movie I have disliked.
Well, we also do have some varying tastes.
We do. And that's good, because there's certainly some stuff that I never necessarily would have spent the time to watch because it's just not of interest. One of your favorite films, it was a Netflix joint the basketball movie.
High Flying Bird.
High Flying Birds. Thank you. I couldn't think of the name. Probably wouldn't have watched that unless it had been like nominated for something, just because the topic is not something that I connect with really, but it's got a phenomenal cast. So that would have been interesting enough. But I never would have watched it. So I've been grateful for things like that. Or in this instance where I know I've needed to watch Hard Boiled it's
Add
sort
into
of an
the
important
lexicon.
thing. So, you know, that's what I love about doing these challenges. Anyway, we are well past our normal runtime. So thank you everybody for sticking with us as we talked about summer blockbusters today, as we talked about some new movies that we've seen, and frankly, why, according to Daryl, this is the best time of year.
Oh man, God, I love this time of the year, man. I love it. It starts with March Madness and then it goes all the way through August with a lot of great movies. And yeah, we will be back in a couple weeks hence, I'm sure, with a big old 50 Cinnamon 50 coming up. So hopefully we'll
How did we hit 50?
We did 49 before that. And
oh right, that's how math works.
That's how numbers go.
Ooh, that's been bugging me.
So we'll be back here in a couple weeks. Until then, you all take it easy, and we'll see you next time around.
Later. All right, quick question for you. No.